Today I want to discuss one of the most recent changes which I have made to my eBay store, which has saved me hundreds of pounds so far and will go on to save me thousands of pounds over the course of a year. Today we're talking about the policies related to returns and refunds. First, I want to give you the background. Since I started selling professionally on eBay about 3 months ago, I didn't initially accept returns, but about a month in, I decided that if I wanted to be a legitimate seller who gives the best customer service, it's in my best interest to offer returns and refunds. So as any of you who have set the process up will know, I went into the settings and I ticked all the boxes and terms which were applicable. This meant that if anybody does return or want a refund, eBay will automatically issue that for them, and I thought at the time that will save me a lot of hassle because any problems will be automatically dealt with. A couple of weeks ago though, I found a few problems with this strategy, and I therefore made some changes which again have saved me quite a lot of money and will hopefully go on to continue to do that as time progresses. And these changes come in the form of policy changes. Let me explain what I mean. So as I said, once I set up all of the processes, I decided it was okay to accept both refunds and returns. Now there's a big problem with this, especially on the front of refunds. The process of a refund is essentially giving somebody their money back without receiving the product back to me. This means that even if a product doesn't work, or it does still work, I would not be able to accept that product back, leaving me at a massive loss, especially if somebody files a refund for something like, I just didn't like the product and it completely worked. That leaves me at a massive disposition. So for that reason, it kind of makes sense that I shouldn't have accepted refunds to begin with. But once I realized this, I decided to turn them off, as it simply didn't make any sense for me to realistically offer people refunds without receiving a product back. So from now on, I don't really offer refunds at all. As a matter of fact, the only time that I would offer a refund is if a product didn't arrive, and the chance of that is extremely slim. That has only ever happened to me once in the entire history of selling over 130 items on eBay, so that's very rare to happen. So by turning off refunds, I am never left without getting a product back, and that gives me a massive advantage, because by getting a product back, I can do one of two things. The first one of which is I can go on to resell the product. If it still works, it's still in fairly new condition, I can sell that product again. A lot of people who do refund only refund because they didn't like the item, and at that point, that said item can then be sold on again, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with it to begin with. They just didn't like it. So I think that's an acceptable way to sell something on and not lose too much money. Alternatively, like I said before, I actually buy stuff brand new and I sell stuff brand new. So if an item doesn't work, there's a good chance that I can then return the item to the manufacturer or distributor of the item, again saving me some costs, because ultimately if they've sent me a faulty product and I've unfortunately sent it out, that is kind of above me and that is on the manufacturer in my opinion. So I get in contact with the manufacturer and see if they will refund me for this product. And most of the time it is actually a yes, which also saves me some costs. So as you will see here, this policy has allowed me to save a lot of money. I've now stopped accepting refunds, giving people the money for free without accepting a product back. Even if it is for free returns, I will pay the postage, whether it's £3 or £5 or something like that. It makes more sense for me to be down £5 than to be down £30 giving somebody a full refund. So I turned off automatic refunds and now that doesn't happen. As for returns, I still accept them, but I've made a couple of changes to the policy. I've now decided that I want to manually approve these returns based on the reason for returning them. So now I go through each return that I get manually. Whilst that is more time intensive, it does save me in the long run, because half of the reasons why people get away with returning items are not reasons accepted on my returns policy. So if it was for actually reading them through, I wouldn't have accepted half of these returns previously anyway. And whilst if it still works, again, that's not that big of a problem, I still may have to incur seller's fees and transportation fees for shipping it out and then taking the return, which adds costs unnecessarily, especially when a buyer has returned an item for an invalid reason based on my returns policy. But I want to show you guys just how much money I have been able to save in the last couple of weeks and months, going off my trusty old spreadsheet. Let's jump over there. So here we have my sales data here for March, April and below that May. What we see here in March is nothing interesting. We don't see even any returns, which is good, but it doesn't really explain what I'm trying to say here. We're going to have to scroll down to April to start to see our first returns. Now what we have is we have a £33 return and a £26 return. Both of these are quite substantial. Bear in mind when you look at the chart here, this is our profit slash loss. Most of these items make a profit figure of between, 20 to 10 and 20 pounds. So to see a little bit of a loss, or actually quite substantial loss of 19 pounds here, I should probably mark that red, of 33 pounds, of 26 pounds, these three losses alone are so significant that they wipe out such a large amount of our profit. We'd have to sell like 5 or 6 items to make back this loss. And you see the main reason for that is because we were able to sell these items for zero. So the customer got the item for free because obviously it was accepted as an automatic refund. I didn't get the item back. So the customer got it for free. I still had to pay all of the fees associated. Well, maybe some of these fees dropped, but realistically, the main cost here is obviously the purchase cost of the item, which is still quite substantial. Now, when we scroll down all the way to May, this is when we see the first implementations of this new strategy. Now, we still had a couple of items get lost. We had this £48 item, which is apparently still lost in post. I'm still trying to track that one down from the 2nd, but that is annoying. Then when you come down a bit further here, this is still a work in progress, so don't really count too much into that. That is going back, but that doesn't count. I want to come down here to our first couple of major instances here. So we can still see some losses, but look at how much money we are losing per time now. £3.46, £10.02 or 20. So we're still losing a bit of money, don't get me wrong, but from £30 losses to £10 losses, and I believe this was the exact same item, we're saving a lot of money, and there's good reasons for that. So we're assuming that we still have to pay the fees, but sometimes you get a fee deduction. But even with a resale value of 0, we get this item back. So let's assume that this is our fees slash postage there and back, because again, we have to post it there and we have to post it back. So all of these amount to our costs, which are £10 too. Now, when we come over here, whilst we have still sold it for 0, we have not spent any money sourcing the product, as we now get this item back, which instead of losing us £40 or £30, has now lost us only 10. This item can then be sold on for an extra £10 profit on a new sale, which will effectively make it a break-even item. Not really as bad. So you can see how the money has been saved there. And we come down, depending on the cost, these are even lower. So we're seeing £3.46, and even on the returns I've had to accept this month, which obviously aren't that many. Again, this one's still in progress, but it's only going to be a loss of about £5. You now see how much more money I can save by actually accepting the return rather than the refund. It's just a much smarter way for me to do things. So hopefully I've explained these policy changes well enough so that you now understand how I've been able to save a lot of money. Now, to many of you this may seem common sense, but it's really something that as a new seller I didn't think of. So hopefully if this is something which you are doing and you're losing a lot of money on it, it might be something to think about. Like I've said, it has changed my selling dynamics quite a lot, allowing me to save a lot of unnecessary costs, as I have shown. But thank you so much for watching. If you did learn something or enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe, as I publish videos almost every single day showing you my progress on my eBay journey. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon.